That's why you find T.D. Jakes hanging out with Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
Swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up?
We explore one of the most startling scandals to affect the religious and celebrity worlds this year in today's film. The leader of the well-known Potter's House megachurch, Bishop T. Jakes, is involved in startling accusations regarding hip. Pop mogul saw Diddy's communications. Singer Cassie's accusations against Diddy sparked it, but it swiftly grew into a viral media storm with crazy parties, covert recordings, and well-known figures. Pastor Gino Jennings into the dispute and publicly denounced Jake's position on Lao Boothku problems and his purported affiliations, which only served to fan the flames. Let's examine the specifics, the charges, and the outcry on social media that crippled millions of people. Take a look.
I drank water like a man. I don't. No, us men, we don't be. Am I right, men? Yeah. Hoorah! Hoorah!
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So, therefore, people, because they got homosexuals that are relatives, they say Jennings is a gay basher. I got homosexuals in my family. But I can't change that Bible.
That's right.
The Bible is right. Homosexuality is wrong.
That's right. That's it. That's it.
And you folk here in Dallas, do you know T.D. Jakes do not speak against homosexuality?
Amen.
They gave T.D. Jakes an interview, and that interview is on YouTube. They asked old Jakes the snakes, but what is your views about homosexuality? He said, well, I don't have no heaven to put them in. I don't have no hell to put them in. He said, I believe they are good Christian homosexuality. He said, some churches have their theology and others have their theology. I don't care about nobody's theology. What did God say?
That's right.
God said, I made the woman for the man.
That's right.
Ain't that what God said? This ain't gay bashing. This is truth teaching.
Truth teaching.
I know all you claim you some Christian and you love the Bible, but yet you choose the scriptures you gonna love.
That's right.
God said he made man in his image. So what image is a homosexual made in? God said I made man in my image.
My image.
Who image is a homosexual in?
My Lord, my Lord. That's right.
That's why you find T.D. Jakes hanging out with Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
That's why you find the Church of God in Christ allowing Chris Tucker and others to do a comedy skit.
That's right.
Don't want to be different.
That's right.
That's why the churches are flying rainbow flags.
Yeah.
They don't want to be different.
No difference.
God is a God of no compromising.
That's true.
And if you compromise, you're just like the world.
That's right. Go ahead, teacher.
Jesus said through John, love not the world.
Don't love it.
Neither the things
that are in the world.
If any man
love the world, the love of the Father is not in it.
You at a graduation and they announce your son or your daughter, you ain't yelling from the balcony like the world. I don't care how proud you are. I would tell a woman have a meek and quiet spirit.
That's right. That's right.
She ain't yelling, woo! That's my boy, ah!
That's right.
Imagine God come with you that tone.
My Lord. Trouble.
Put a difference.
That ye may put difference between holy
no
and unholy.
eye line shadow.
Yeah.
I don't care how many gray strings come in your mustache, don't dye it.
That's right.
Imagine me dyeing my hair, that little landing strip.
A little more than a year ago, video surfaced that showed Bishop T. Jakes at Diddy Combs' 53rd birthday party in Los Angeles. This immediately sparked rumors and excitement on social media. A young guy now, a Potter's House student. As a juvenile, Jake's megachurch has allegedly engaged legal counsel, alleging that Jakes forced him to do certain actions when he was 16. The young man's family allegedly got payment at first to keep quiet, but as he grows older, he is now seeking justice for himself. Debates about responsibility and the duties of religious leaders have been sparked by these claims, which have further increased the media's intensive scrutiny of Jakes and his relationships with powerful people like Diddy. Jakes has openly reiterated his opinions on the inclusion of LGBTQ people in religious settings in the face of these accusations, urging them to look out church communities that share their values and beliefs. While acknowledging that different churches have different views on LGBTQ issues, he has continuously pushed a message of tolerance, respect, and equal legal rights for Libu Kotekspitku people. In response to a question about the cohabitation of Al-Gabtak people in black churches, Jakes emphasized the range of viewpoints within the faith community and emphasized that no one position can speak for all churches. The Jakes and Diddy scandal is still a hot subject in the media, garnering a lot of attention and igniting a continuing public conversation.
Anything, this is allegedly. Ain't nobody gonna catch me slipping, okay? Okay. So allegedly, Cassie has turned over evidence to the feds. Yes, to the feds. She has turned over videotapes, a USB drive, and Kim Porter's burner phone. Now, there is also an alleged email out saying a plethora of other things that include TD Jakes with Diddy. I'm gonna let y'all listen to it. I'm not finna say nothing else.
Says here, yo bro, Cassie has turned over substantial amounts of evidence to the feds. I'm told that after Cassie had a long conversation with blank, I have to protect this person. They're going through a lot right now. And her lawyers, she finally was convinced to give up the videotapes and audio recordings that contain footage of S parties and other private gatherings that feature some pretty powerful and prominent people. And get this, she even gave up a burner phone and USBs that belong to Kim Porter with incriminating evidence against Diddy. I'm told that there are a slew of artists, politicians, and entertainers that are about to be exposed and arrested for H10. I'm paraphrasing there, okay? H10. I'm told that Cassie's husband played a significant role in getting Cassie to turn over the evidence. It's to my understanding that Cassie felt that by exposing the truth, it would also make her look like a filthy Moor, and I'm paraphrasing there because some of the videos she turned in, it shows her getting number one, okay guys, I'm paraphrasing again, and committing more disgusting acts that she was forced to do. I'm also told that multiple male escorts corroborated the fact that TD Jakes have slept with multiple men at Diddy's parties and abroad, and they refer to him as being a power bottom. Wow. Bishop Jakes is about to get railroaded and all of his dirt will be exposed. That's why the bishop has quietly lawyered up. He sees his fall from grace coming.
Bishop Jakes is going to be railroaded, exposing all of his filth. The bishop has subtly enticed up because of this. He anticipates falling from grace. The accusations made against Diddy and D. Jakes swiftly gained widespread attention on social media. In particular, Jakes became a highly hot subject on TikTok and X, which was originally Twitter. One video exposing the allegations alongside the hip-hop mogul received millions of views. As users weighed in on the controversy and conjectured about the implications for Jakes' public image and moral authority, high-profile reactions and widespread expressions of shock and condemnation fueled the content's rapid spread and brought Jake and his association with Diddy under intense public scrutiny. These postings' viral momentum highlights the high degree of public attention and the increased scrutiny both people are subject to as the story progresses. It's obvious that the Jakes and Diddy accusations have sparked a media frenzy that has reached millions of people and sparked contentious discussions on social media. In addition to casting doubt on Jake's reputation, the charges have drawn condemnation from Christian leaders such as Gino Jennings, who publicly questioned JT's theological beliefs and log-beat conclusion methodology. The controversy's viral growth has been spurred by public emotions ranging from astonishment to condemnation, which has increased interest in Jake's relationship with Diddy and the broader discussion of moral integrity and responsibility among powerful leaders. It doesn't matter whether these accusations are true or not. The news has already had a significant effect and brought attention to the need for openness and accountability from public people.
Given the sensitive nature of these rumors, it's prudent to exercise caution and await official statements or verified information. Undoubtedly, these rumors have sparked considerable concern within the community and among Bishop T.D. Jakes' followers, prompting many to eagerly await clarification from him or his representatives. In the interim, it's imperative to uphold the principle of innocence until proven guilty, and refrain from premature judgment solely based on unconfirmed rumors. Renowned preachers rarely find themselves thrust into the headlines, and when they do, it's usually for matters pertaining to their spiritual teachings. However, T.D. Jakes has recently diverged from this expected path within his field. In recent months, his name has been linked to unconventional news, marking a departure from his usual media presence. Now, his appearances in the media have taken a darker turn, with looming allegations of arrest shadowing his name. Unlike many of his peers, Jakes is familiar with the spotlight, the remarkable growth of his church, and his connections with influential figures in the entertainment industry have solidified his societal position. Yet with his level of success comes fame, and it seems that his renown extends beyond his sermons. Recent reports suggest that Jakes may not always embody the message he preaches. While there are numerous respected theologians globally, figures like Bishop T.D. Jakes distinguish themselves with their ability to bridge the gap between the entertainment world, particularly the hip-hop scene, and biblical teachings. His involvement with prominent individuals, both within and beyond the black community, has elevated his influence.
Are we unaware of all that goes on behind the scenes? The whole narrative is more complicated and darker than you could imagine, so stay tuned. It's critical to comprehend Monique's history and professional development before delving into the contentious audio. Known most for her part in Precious, Monique has always been an unabashedly fearless person. In addition to being an actor, she is also a producer, comedian, and advocate for those who are often disregarded. Despite some controversy, her professional path has been nothing short of extraordinary. Both acclaim and criticism accompanied Monique's ascent to stardom. She has never shied away from pointing out inequalities in the entertainment sector, especially those pertaining to racism, inequality, and the maltreatment of women. Although her courage won her admiration, it also made her adversaries. Hollywood's reaction to her Precious Oscar triumph is notorious. She caused friction with influential individuals in the business by refusing to take part in the typical award circuit campaigns, as many people recall. She refused to follow the norms of the business, staying loyal to herself in spite of this. However, Monique's demeanor is rather more polarizing among the gospel community. Although her honesty has earned her admiration, her direct style has sometimes offended others. She starts her argument with T.D. Jakes because she doesn't hesitate to have tough talks. T.D. Jakes, a well-known preacher and leader, has always walked a tightrope, striking a balance between power, religion, and celebrity. People were dubious when Monique first appeared in the church setting. Was she attempting to assert her presence in a male-dominated field? Did she say anything inappropriate? However, what if these conflicts went beyond simple competitiveness amongst co-workers? What if there were discussions taking on behind closed doors that we are unaware of? Talks that could eventually result in a scandalous tape being made public? This brings us to the crux of the problem: Monique's most recent action. Even the most powerful people in the religious community are shocked by this approach. Let's now explore the dramatic occasion that has shook the gospel and Hollywood worlds. Monique, who has never been afraid to voice her opinions, made a daring move by making an illegal audio tape public. What does this tape really show, however, and why did it surprise everyone? According to reports, the tape was made when Monique was speaking with T.D. and other influential church members. Jakes. This tape includes frightening personal information that was never intended to be made public, which is the source of the dispute. Insiders claim that the talk was secretly recorded, and Monique has been charged with violating the confidence of individuals who believed they were having a private chat. However, why did Monique make this tape public? What could she possibly hope to gain from being in the spotlight? Some claim it was a retaliatory attack. Others assert that it was an attempt to reveal the truth, regardless of how untidy or harmful it was. Whatever the cause, the recording shows a heated conversation that implies far more than what is first apparent. Monique may be heard making numerous audacious accusations on the tape, such as those about the church's internal operations, corruption, and covert exploitation. She talks openly about her encounters with well-known pastors, like T.D. Jakes, revealing some awkward facts that have been kept under wraps for years. The scenario becomes considerably darker when criminal conduct is mentioned. Here's the catch, however. The recording's fragments only tell part of the narrative. There is more to it. A question is raised when the audio keeps making the rounds. What caused T.D. Monique is warned by Jakes not to reveal this. How was he aware of the recording, and why did he insist on keeping it secret? Some people think his interest went beyond just preserving his reputation. Might there be more powerful, hazardous forces at play here? Did he engage in any activities that may have permanently harmed his ministry and career if they were made public? What more may Monique know that we haven't heard yet is the question we must now ask. Is there anything more surprising that hasn't been revealed yet? Everyone is on the tip of their seats, anticipating what may happen next, as the tension around this audio grows every day. Let me assure you, however, this is far more than you may imagine. We're only beginning to explore. As we delve more into the debate around Monique's choice to make the illegal tape public, the narrative becomes more complex. The way that T.D. Jakes responded to this surprise is even more startling. Jakes' reputation as one of the most significant people in the church and gospel music industry is based on years of mentoring, leadership, and faith. Now that the tape has been exposed, what is at risk for him? Soon after the tape was released to the public, suspicions began to circulate, and Jakes' staff immediately moved into damage control mode. However, controlling the effect on his empire was equally as important as preserving his own reputation. T.D. Jakes is more than simply a clergyman. He is a brand, an entrepreneur, and a businessman. His influence, media presence, and church go far beyond the pulpit. Much of what he has built over the years may be destroyed if the contents of this video were made public. Jakes immediately called a series of urgent private meetings with his legal team and advisors in reaction to the disclosure. Only a select few persons were aware of the exact nature of the discussions at some of these sessions, which were conducted behind closed doors and out of the public view. Behind those closed doors, what was being discussed? Did Jakes have any other secrets he wanted to hide? Sources familiar with the matter claim that T.D. Jakes was making every effort to make sure Monique would be held accountable for making the tape public. Jakes allegedly contacted a few powerful industry insiders, individuals with considerable influence in both Hollywood and the evangelical music community, in one of his most desperate efforts to steer the story. The goal of these initiatives was to put pressure on Monique to take back her remarks and to think again about the harm she was causing by disclosing such private and delicate information. Monique, however, was not going to back down. She really seemed to be more committed than ever to seeing that the truth was revealed. However, this was more than a personal grudge. The more we learn, the more we understand that the audio recording might be a sign of a greater conflict. Is it possible that Monique was attempting to reveal a more significant issue, something structural in both the entertainment industry and the church? The power battle that followed the leak, however, is the most bizarre aspect of this tale. Insiders assert that there was a change in power inside the church community itself, while Jakes was putting in extra effort to prevent the recording from getting viral. Some of Jakes' closest supporters started to turn away from him out of concern that their own role may be questioned. There is a serious concern raised by this abrupt decline in trust among those closest to him. Was there anything more sinister going on here, or was this simply a personal argument between Monique and Jakes? Is it possible that the scandal that Monique revealed was only the start of something larger? This is when the exciting part begins. We still have a lot to learn about what is behind the surface of this audio clip. Is it possible that additional explosive moments will be revealed? In her continued search for the truth, has Monique discovered anything else? What will she do with the remaining explosive evidence? Monique's choice to make the illegal audio recording public becomes even more crucial as events develop. Let's go back a little, however. What first made Monique feel the urge to reveal this shocking information? After all, this was a huge public discovery that shocked the emergency room, not just a little leak, the basis for TD Jake's well-manicured appearance. Despite her notoriety and honors, Monique has never shied away from controversy. Well known for voicing her opinions and defending her convictions, she was caught in the middle of a wider conflict that seemed to include more than simply interpersonal conflicts. Sources claim that Monique had been quietly dissatisfied with the way people like TD Jakes treated her for years. Disagreements over how she was treated throughout her career, rumors of power struggles, and most importantly, a pervasive sense that her truth had been repressed were all present. Even more intriguing, however, is the fact that Monique had been offered many opportunities to preserve the secret. Deals and agreements to conceal the tape had been presented to her, but she had turned them down. Why? This was more than simply personal revenge, she said. The purpose of this was to reveal something far larger. It seems that Monique thought that by making the video public, she would expose a pattern of power abuse, exploitation, and manipulation that went beyond her relationship with Jakes. Let's get started with the audio itself now. What specifically was in it that rocked the entertainment business and the Christian community? As far as we can tell, the tape is a furious exchange between Monique and an unidentified person that includes unsettling information about how she was coerced into quiet. The discussion exposes dishonest business practices, emotional blackmail, and a pattern of domineering conduct by those in high places in the religious community. Monique's voice trembles in one of the audio's most startling scenes as she describes a meeting with Jakes when she felt under pressure to make choices that went against her moral principles. She describes how, in spite of her own professional failures, she was expected to keep quiet about what had been going on behind closed doors. The worst part is still to come. The tape shows that Jake made explicit warnings regarding the repercussions of her non-compliance. These threats were not ambiguous. These were straightforward declarations that said Monique would lose her job and be shunned by the industry if she didn't comply. Why then disclose this? Why subject herself to the type of criticism from the public that many believed would ruin her reputation? It was more than simply her profession for Monique. It was about bringing to light a more extensive control system that so many others had been subjected to. She didn't want to be another somebody who was suppressed by influential people. It was her desire to shatter the hush. But Monique wasn't quite prepared for the consequences of her choice. Although many admirers praised her courage, others were quick to denounce what she had done. There were differing responses throughout the church community. While some praised her for speaking out against what they saw to be exploitation, others criticized her actions as risky and foolish. It seems evident that Monique and Jakes were not the only subjects of this leak. It appealed to a much wider cultural gap in the gospel entertainment and music industry. Actually, when several famous people started to voice their opinions on Monique's choice to make the tape public, the backlash against her became more intense. Several of the most well-known figures in the gospel community officially declared their disassociation with her, calling her reckless and detrimental to the church. However, here is where the situation becomes even more intriguing. Monique remained unfazed. She reaffirmed her choice rather than giving in to the pressure. She garnered even more supporters when she started to talk more candidly about the structural issues facing the sector. However, here is when things took an unexpected turn. A discussion over power relations in the entertainment and religious sectors was spurred by Monique's acts. People began to investigate other individuals who could have been abusing their power to corrupt and control others. Was Monique the first to take a public stance, or was she the only one engaged in this struggle? This brings us to a pivotal point in the narrative. What will happen to Monique next? She has already caused a stir, but what may happen if she made this audio tape public? Will others in the business start to come out with her, or is she really fighting this battle alone? The most fascinating question is this one. What will happen to the gospel music industry's future and the connections between influential people like TD if Monique prevails in this fight? Jakes and the celebrities they have aided? The consequences of Monique's dramatic publication of the illegal audio tape became more evident as the dust settled. In addition to causing division among the Christian community, it was also beginning to affect the general population. People started to doubt the moral behavior of individuals in positions of authority. Influential roles, particularly in the church, where honesty and trustworthiness are valued highly. Even more intriguing is T.D. Jakes' reaction to the startling public disclosure. Jakes was once the tall man at the heart of it all. Jakes first made an effort to keep quiet in the hopes that the controversy would go away. After all, the man's beliefs, leadership, and enormous fan base have allowed him to build an empire. But it was impossible to overlook the controversy that surrounded Monique's disclosure. Jakes felt compelled to speak out as the media hysteria intensified, but his reaction was quite different from what many had expected. According to reports, Jakes voiced his perplexity and irritation in a private meeting with his closest advisors. In addition to harming his reputation, the audio leak jeopardized the harmony of the community he had spent decades creating. Not only were some doubting the accuracy of the statements on the tape, in addition, many were doubting his personality, his intentions, and the actual quality of his interactions with others. This was a personal setback for a guy who has taught about humility, forgiveness, and leadership. However, Jake did not snap in response to this increasing strain. He adopted a more measured strategy instead. In an attempt to settle the matter behind closed doors, he contacted Monique. His staff started putting in endless effort to persuade her to take back the release, promising her financial recompense and future possibilities in his network in exchange for her silence. However, Monique refused to back down since she had previously experienced the repercussions of being quiet. At this point, the two characters' conflict took an unexpected turn. Jakes had thought that the issue would be settled amicably, but Monique's persistence on speaking out only made things worse. The gospel community started to take sides as the pressure increased. Some defended Jakes, claiming that he had been unjustly targeted by a resentful person seeking retribution. Many, on the other hand, completely supported Monique, saying that she had done the right thing by coming clean. Jakes made a public statement in the weeks after the tape leak in an effort to reclaim control of the story. He spoke calmly and directly to the topic during a live broadcast service. He apologized for any misconceptions and recognized the suffering the circumstance had caused. Jake did not, however, fully apologize, which left many questioning if he really realized how serious the matter was. Apologies, any miscommunications. Jakes did not, however, fully apologize, which left many questioning if he really realized how serious the matter was. His evasive reaction sparked conjecture, and many believed he had sidestepped the main problem, the emotional control and manipulation shown in the discussion that was released. Here's the twist, however. Jakes tried to restore his reputation, but his efforts didn't work out as planned. They just deepened the wound rather than curing it. Members of the church started to inquire about the real nature of his interactions with other people in his ministry. Was Monique's account a singular occurrence, or was it just the beginning? The reports about Jakes' activities became increasingly widespread as more individuals started to express their worries. The situation becomes considerably more complex at this point. Jakes' influential associates started to work behind the scenes to refute Monique's allegations. They attempted to portray her as a lady who had been scorned and as someone who was looking for attention after a disagreement with one of the most powerful men in the church. Monique, however, remained steadfast in her quest for the truth and stuck to her version of events. She resisted allowing her message to be misrepresented or altered. As time went on, it became evident that there was more to the matter than a single audio clip. It has to do with something much more significant. It focused on the power dynamics at work in a field where control and influence often triumph over individual principles and the truth. Many people were awakened by Monique's choice to make the tape public, not just in the church, but also in other sectors of the economy that function with comparable degrees of control and secrecy. However, what lies ahead for Monique and Jacques? Both of their careers have surely been permanently impacted by the controversy. For Jacques, the future holds a lot of unknowns. Even with his enormous fan base, his credibility is now being closely examined. Can he make up for the harm done to his reputation? Will those who support him stick with him, or will his image's flaws become irreversible? In this tale, Monique has become both a victim and a hero. Many individuals are now questioning the control structures that govern their own lives as a result of her bravery in speaking out. But at what price? Will she be able to pursue her profession without suffering harsh consequences from her former supporters? Or will she turn into a symbol of defiance against overpowering authority? There is little doubt that Monique's choice to make that audio tape public will have long-lasting effects on the entertainment and religious industries. And whether or not this is the end of the tale, the controversy it generated will only intensify as more people start to hold those in authority accountable and transparent. The ramifications of this controversy extend far beyond Monique and T.D. Jakes' personal lives as the drama between them continues to develop. This is about a far bigger discussion that has long been needed in the entertainment and religious sectors, not simply about one star exposing another. A culture of silence, deceit, and unbridled power has existed for years. Many have attempted to overlook the flaws in this system, but this controversy has exposed them. It was very revolutionary of Monique to abandon that audio recording. Both sides surely experienced personal suffering as a result, but it also started a firestorm that is igniting crucial discussions about transparency, accountability, and the poisonous habits that sometimes flourish in positions of authority. It is no longer only about rumors and controversy. It concerns holding influential individuals responsible for their deeds. The public wants concrete evidence that leaders are keeping their word and is expecting more than just promises of change. It is now hard to overlook the rippling effect as we examine the aftermath. Now, other well-known people who were previously untouchable are being closely examined. It is no longer possible to ignore the issue that Monique's leak has brought up. What are these powerful people concealing? The public can no longer blindly accept these leaders' well-preserved, controlled personas without considering the real price of their achievement. It's interesting to note that this issue has had an influence outside of the evangelical music community. Fans and detractors are vehemently disputing the situation's rightness and wrongness on social media, which is already a beehive of dispute. Some argue in favor of Jakes, pointing to his years of service, his indisputable effect, and the millions of lives he has improved. However, a growing number of people believe that Monique's actions were brave and revealed a more profound reality that may eventually lead to a much-needed shift in the sector. But Jake and Monique aren't the only ones affected. The public's perception of other religious and entertainment industry leaders has really changed as a result of this crisis. Now, serious concerns are being posed. How many previous presidents have been able to act freely behind closed doors? How many have sheltered themselves behind charm, religion, and a well-crafted image to utilize their power for personal benefit? Even if Jake's fans found the findings upsetting, they may mark the start of a far more extensive reckoning. This is where this scandal's real power resides. It's about people realizing that their leaders may not always be who they say they are, and about the system's flaws being revealed, not simply about a leaked audio recording. Whether on purpose or not, Monique has sparked a movement of change that may make those in positions of authority and institutions accountable for their deeds. The media's involvement in all of this should also be noted. Not only was the audio shocking, but the way these tales are presented also contributed to the media frenzy that accompanied their publication. As more information becomes available, it becomes evident that popular personalities such as TD, even though Jakes is loved by many of his fans, find it difficult to accept that he is still human and prone to mistakes. Power and influence have always been concentrated in the hands of a select few, especially in the gospel business. People are now questioning if this system is set up to maintain the powerful at the top while quiet or discrediting those who speak up or challenge the status quo. What does this leave us with then? The discussion is just getting started. It will be interesting to see how Jakes and Monique handle this new, intense reality over the next several months. Will Monique remain steadfast and keep speaking the truth she has decided to share? Or, like many others before her, would she be punished for criticizing someone so influential? However, as one of the most powerful preachers of his day, would Jakes be able to rebuild his reputation and keep his followers' faith? Or has his reputation been permanently harmed by this scandal? This controversy ultimately goes much beyond a private dispute between two famous people. For all of us, this is a time of reckoning. It challenges our heedless allegiance to influential people and organizations. It makes us reevaluate the qualities we look for in leaders, whether they be in the entertainment sector, the church, or another industry. Can we keep elevating individuals without considering their behavior? Are we prepared to acknowledge that our leaders may not always have our best interests in mind? One thing is evident as this narrative progresses. The controversy surrounding Monique's audio release has sparked a discussion that will be difficult to put out. She has made us face difficult realities, whether or not we agree with her conduct, and as a result, her narrative will be discussed for a very long time. The founder of the Potter's House and well-known preacher, Bishop T.D. Jakes, is presently facing a difficult legal struggle that has made his life even more difficult. The revered spiritual leader is now coping with grave charges from Pennsylvania-based pastor Dwayne Youngblood, who recently had a medical crisis during his sermon on November 24th. Jake allegedly sexually abused Youngblood while he was between the ages of 18 and 19, according to Youngblood's public accusations. Jake and his legal team have taken action as a result of the public and media's attention being drawn to these bombshell claims. Bishop Jakes, who is now in stable condition after a medical assessment after his sermon, has sued Youngblood for defamation in reaction to these allegations. Jake's lawyers have vehemently refuted the accusations, claiming that Youngblood's statements are not only false but also driven by greed. As Jake's legal team works hard to preserve his name and reputation in the religious world, they argue that the pastor's activities are motivated by a personal agenda rather than a valid grievance. Both sides are getting ready for what is anticipated to be a very heated confrontation in the courts as the legal processes have swiftly intensified. Even while the lawsuit specifics are still being worked out, there is no denying the tension in the case. This case is not only a personal problem for Jakes, a man who has based his legacy on inspiration, religion, and community service, but it also has the potential to affect his reputation both within and outside of the Christian community. The public's attention will be riveted to the drama as Bishop Jakes battles to clear his reputation while managing his own medical recovery as the case develops. In an October 27th episode of the Larry Reed Live podcast, Pennsylvania-based pastor Dwayne Youngblood made the first public accusations of improper behavior against Bishop T.D. Jakes. The instances happened years ago, according to Youngblood, who remembered the first claimed contact after a Pittsburgh church function. According to Youngblood, Jakes tried to kiss and hug him, which he said was an unwanted and awkward move. Youngblood recounted a second meeting in which Jakes allegedly asked if they might share a bed as part of his account of the alleged occurrences. The Christian community, which considers Bishop Jakes to be one of the most important leaders in contemporary ministry, has been rocked by these unsettling accusations. Given Jakes' long-standing reputation for advocating for religion, honesty, and family values, many people were taken aback by the allegations. Given that it concerns a well-respected religious person, Youngblood's disclosure has sparked significant debate. The tale swiftly gathered steam once the podcast segment went viral, with many people guessing about whether the accusations were true. For his side, Youngblood has said that after a number of introspection and hardships, he felt obliged to share his tale even though he had first been hesitant to do so. Following these allegations, Bishop Jakes and his legal team have vehemently denied any wrongdoing, claiming that Youngblood is lying to damage Jakes' name and get money. The claims have no validity, according to Jakes' attorneys, who have rejected them as unfounded and part of a larger attempt to damage his reputation. Soon after the charges were made public, they filed a defamation lawsuit against Youngblood, vowing to defend the claims in court. As the case progresses, the public's interest in the lawsuit specifics and the accusations themselves has grown. As both parties get ready for what may be a protracted legal battle, the conversation is now focused on the wider ramifications for Jake's legacy and the relationship of trust between religious leaders and their communities. Even while Jakes is still committed to protecting his image, many are curious about how the case's continued media coverage would impact Jakes and those who see him as a spiritual leader. The well-known preacher and founder of the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas, Bishop T.D. Jakes, is now involved in a legal dispute as a result of grave allegations that have damaged his image. During a Larry Reed Live podcast broadcast on October 27th, Pennsylvania-based preacher Dwayne Youngblood publicly accused Jakes. According to Youngblood, Jakes sexually attacked him when he was 18 or 19. Youngblood said the assaults happened after a Pittsburgh church function. He further said that in a second meeting, Bishop Jakes firmly denied Jakes' charges, which have generated a great deal of controversy. Jakes responded to the allegations by suing Youngblood in Pennsylvania federal court for slander. His legal team filed the case, claiming the accusations are nasty and completely untrue. According to his attorneys, Youngblood wants to harm Jakes' reputation in order to make money. They contend that the purpose of the accusations is to harm Jakes' reputation in order to make money. They contend that the pastor has suffered greatly as a result of the accusations, both emotionally and professionally. According to Jakes' legal team, the pastor has been significantly impacted both physically and emotionally by the protracted legal struggle as the case moves forward. In fact, they imply that Jakes' medical issue on November 24th could have been directly caused by the stress of the charges. Jake unexpectedly became sick while preaching at his Dallas church, the Potter's House. Fortunately, he was subsequently reported to be in stable condition after being sent for medical treatment. His attorneys have stressed that his health issue was caused in part by the stress of the false claims as well as the physical and mental strain of the defamation action. In addition to clearing Jake's name, the case, which was brought against Youngblood and other parties connected to the allegations, tries to stop what his legal team refers to be a plot to take advantage of his notoriety. The objective, according to them, is to put an end to Bishop Jakes' continuous suffering, emotional, bodily, and spiritual, caused by these unfounded charges. The legal team further emphasized that the case is intended to safeguard Jakes' legacy and demonstrate to the public that the accusations are baseless. They want to do this in order to repair his integrity and reputation in the eyes of his followers, congregation, and the general public. Jakes is steadfast in his devotion to his religion and the welfare of his flock in spite of the difficulties. While negotiating the choppy seas of this legal dispute, he continues to insist on his innocence. Now that his health has improved, Jakes is anticipated to continue serving as the leader of his church, while his legal team works hard to expose the truth and protect his reputation from these terrible allegations. The 57-year-old pastor of Higher Call World Outreach Ministries, Dwayne Youngblood, and his lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, took a daring step in their legal dispute with Bishop T.D. Jakes on November 15, 2024. Blackburn, who previously defended Lil Rod in his legal battle against media tycoon Diddy, filed a case for $6 million in return for a speedy and quiet resolution. Youngblood said the demand was intended to resolve the matter without further litigation or public conflict. Youngblood reaffirmed his accusations against Jakes in his lawsuit, including charges of sexual assault and harassment that allegedly occurred when he was 18 or 19. Youngblood's demand for money was presented as a quick solution, but it also carried a serious warning. Youngblood would proceed with a full-fledged lawsuit if Jakes did not fulfill this requirement. According to reports, the lawsuit would seek damages for the claimed harassment and assault, taking the matter to a court battle and drawing further attention from the public. TribLive reports that this legal threat coincides with Youngblood's pursuit of redress for the harm he alleges he endured at the hands of Jakes over 3 decades ago. Bishop Jakes and his legal team have forcefully denied the charges, claiming that Youngblood is using the bogus allegations as part of a conspiracy to defraud the pastor of his money. Jakes' lawyers contend that Youngblood is using the accusations to further his own financial interests, accusing him of fabricating false information in an attempt to get a large settlement. In response, the team filed a defamation action to fight what they see as a purposeful effort to damage Jakes' image, arguing that the charges are false. According to Jakes' legal team, the timing of the charges and the monetary demand make it abundantly evident that Youngblood's claims are motivated by exploitation. Jakes' court brief, which portrays the whole incident as a planned action intended to capitalize on the pastor's notoriety, reinforced this viewpoint. As the court struggle progresses, Jakes is committed to clearing his name and repairing his image because he thinks that by revealing the lies behind the charges, he would eventually be able to reclaim his reputation in his community and in the eyes of the public. Jakes has already suffered from the strain of the protracted legal drama. In late November, he had a medical emergency while preaching. According to his team, the stress of the legal battle could have contributed to it. As the lawsuit progresses, it is unclear whether Youngblood's $6 million claim will be fulfilled, or if it will turn into a protracted legal dispute that might continue to have serious consequences for both sides. In reaction to Dwayne Youngblood's charges, Bishop T.D. Jakes and his legal team have strongly refuted the accusations and said that they believe they are false. Jakes firmly believes in helping real victims of sexual assault, according to the filing, stressing that these people should be handled with the highest regard, compassion, understanding, and sympathy. He has also stated his opinion that those who really commit such abuse need to be held completely responsible for their deeds. Jakes' attorneys, however, have argued that this is not the case with Youngblood's claims, claiming that Youngblood has purposefully attempted to fabricate charges for his own financial and personal gain by manipulating social media and the court system. In addition to refuting the claims of sexual assault, Jakes' defamation case provides insight into Youngblood's history. As the court dispute heats up, the petition disclosed that Youngblood is a registered sex offender in the state of Pennsylvania, a revelation that has drawn attention. Jakes' legal team contends that this fact calls into question the veracity of Youngblood's accusations and damages his reputation. Youngblood's situation in the legal battle is further complicated by the fact that he is now on parole. The purpose of disclosing these specifics is to draw attention to what Jakes' lawyers say is the extent of Youngblood's manipulation of the circumstances. Youngblood's activities, according to Jakes' team, not only seriously damage the pastor's image, but also show a pattern of activity meant to take advantage of the judicial system for one's own benefit. The defamation lawsuit highlights the seriousness of the matter by highlighting the substantial emotional, physical, and spiritual toll that these baseless charges have had on Bishop Jakes. The New York Post claims that Dwayne Youngblood's problematic past has come to light again during his defamation lawsuit against Bishop T.D. Jakes. Youngblood's current accusations against Jakes are made more difficult and contentious by the revelation that he previously entered a guilty plea to sexually abusing at least 2 adolescent males. In the current court struggle, Youngblood's honesty and motivations have come under scrutiny due to his questionable prior activities. Youngblood himself spoke openly about one of the situations he was engaged in a recent interview with Larry Reed. He spoke openly about being arrested in 2006 on an allegation of sexual assault for an event that happened in 2002, 4 years before. According to Youngblood, the event occurred on October 31st, 2002, when he was a pastor and reportedly provided therapy to a member of his church who was underage. As the defamation action moves forward, people are beginning to doubt his honesty and character, which has been exacerbated by his own admission of this prior crime. This revelation's background is important since it directly connects to the charges he has made against Bishop Jakes. Youngblood described his role in the event in the interview, claiming that at the time he was providing pastoral counseling. Many people are wondering whether these fresh accusations are a part of a larger pattern of lying or manipulation because of his public admission of his prior wrongdoings and the legal consequences that followed. Given this history, Youngblood's reasons for making the charges against Jakes are now being closely examined, since the specifics of his past are being called into question in light of his ongoing legal proceedings. These facts have been seized upon by Jakes' legal team, who contend that Youngblood's prior criminal activity and his guilty plea to sexual assault disprove his current accusations and strengthen their case that the preacher is only fabricating statements for his own financial and personal benefit.